What is up, football fans? But most importantly, USFL fans, to episode 14 of the USFL Authority, your best place for USFL news, debates, and takes. As always, I'm Ace, this is Webb, and our producer KB, and we are here to talk week 3 and week 4. Webb, how did you like week 3? I think you liked it.
Well, first of all, I want to thank Cal for Maverick to filling in last week.
Yes.
It proved that I knew what I was talking about. That even though I go against the grain most of the time, it proved it. That's the reason why I'm wearing my Hawaiian shirt, because all my picks hit the money, and I'm booking for my trip. I just booked my trip to Hawaii with winners. Hit the money.
I'm
ready. I'm ready to go. Let's go. I'm absolutely ready to go because it's week 4. It's moving week. That's what I'm calling it. This is the
week.
Why
moving week? What does that even mean?
Okay, so if the Gamblers lose this week and the Stallions and the Breakers win, you've moved down. Like you're basically almost done, right? Because you're 2 games out with 5 to go.
Like the Showboats?
So, like the Showboats have to win this week. If they don't, they've definitely moved out. Like their stuff's on the front lawn. They're already packed up, but it's not thrown out on the front lawn yet. All right. It just.
Oh, so you mean literally moving like moving a house?
They're throwing out a house. If we have a playoff house, right? This is the playoff, and the final 4 teams stay in the playoff house.
Yes.
Showboat's already packed. They lose this week. They're the ex-wife is throwing the stuff on the front lawn.
On the lawn.
Yeah,
the ex-wife that is Todd Haley,
or the Tampa Bay Bandits, whatever.
Todd Haley, that dude is getting scrappy.
And you guys have a big game. Both of your game, the Stars and we'll get to it obviously, but the Stars and Gamblers, like the loser might be done. Like honestly,
it's a big week. I don't know if I agree with it. So, we'll get into it. Yeah, we'll get into that. All right. So,
like we always do.
First up on the list, though, is the power rankings. For everybody that this is the first time that you've tuned in, the USFL Community Power Rankings are something that we do where all the big players in the USFL community, the semi-professional, hobby people who are truly invested that cover this league the way that we do, we get all of them to vote, and we bring a culminative vote. I don't know if that's a real word.
Yep.
And it's the community voting, because the league will put out power rankings, but a lot of people like to point out that RJ Young maybe isn't watching all the games all the way through. I don't know, something like that. So we do it where it's everybody that, we interact with or that interacts with us like that in the community. So this week here is, that's not what I meant to do. Let me see. How do we get it? Oh, I should probably share my screen.
Yeah,
That's how. Boom. Here we go. All right. So these are the power rankings. Now I got it going. Oh my gosh. So through some technical difficulties, I figured it out. All right. Well, a lot of movement here. I don't know if you know. So that when you said moving week, I thought you meant movement on the power rankings, because if you look at this, every single team moved. Nobody is in the position that they were in last week. So what we do every week, who is too high for you?
Too high?
Yes.
Ooh. Now, too high in the sense that where they're going to end up in the season, or too high currently?
Currently.
The Stallions.
Okay, that's fair.
Because I just think the Generals are better than them right now. I really do. I know the Generals lost to them in week 1. I get that. I absolutely get that. But outside of that Showboats performance, the Stallions haven't looked dominant to be the number 2. The Generals the last 2 weeks have looked dominant, and controlling the Maulers, beating the Maulers, and then going to Detroit in a packed house, right? And they just dominated them with big plays. So I just feel like everyone else is kind of in the right spot. Like I would switch the Gamblers and Maulers, but we can go back and forth on that one. Showboats are definitely 8. It's like Breakers are 1. Like it's pretty obvious. Like some of the votes, because I calculate all the votes, have the Stars 5. Some have the Maulers 5. Some have the Gamblers 7. Some have the Maulers 7. That 5, 6, 7, you can argue any point, really.
I mean, that one, it's tough. I think that this week will show a lot of 5 through 7 on this week's power rankings, because the Gamblers will play the Stars. The Maulers just played the Stars.
Yep.
So once the Gamblers play the Stars, depending on that game, you really can hash out 5, 6, 7, and it makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
So for me, too high. Blah.
I think it's pretty good though, right? Like it's tough.
It's a solid one. It's exactly what I put. I think.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I put like exactly this. I think I may. No, yeah, this is exactly my power ranking. So there's nobody that's too high or too low for me. I think it's the most settled it's been so far. You know, it's going to get easier to kind of nitpick and say that this is specifically where a team should be the further you get into the season because you've seen more. You know the team better, right? Whereas the first 2 weeks, it was kind of okay. This team had a great week and then a bad week. I don't really know what to do with that.
And who do they play? Like you don't know what the other team on the other side of the field.
Yeah, the Stallions, you know, beat the crap out of the Showboats, and you're like, whoa. And then the Showboats go and lose the next week to the Gamblers, and you're like, oh, maybe that wasn't that great. You know, even though the Gamblers only lost to the Breakers because of one terrible errant interception, and then the Stallions go and lose by more. So, like, I think we could see movement. I'm not saying the Gamblers are going to like jump up. We could easily lose this week. Who knows? But I think we could still see a lot of movement by the end of the season.
Well, we could have seen movement on a couple plays, right? The Showboat, if Hall doesn't catch that touchdown for you guys are probably sitting in the basement, and the Showboats
we
are probably sitting
easily
5 or 6. Like honestly,
easily sitting in the basement. But Justin Hall, I said it on my show, and I want to know what you think. Do you think he is kind of the Cavante Turpin of this year?
That's tough. He's a big play guy. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but it's tough to fill those shoes. That guy went on to be an NFL All-Pro, and you know what I mean. Like it's tough to say he's going to jump right into those shoes. It's like the guy that replaces Tom Brady, right? Like Cam Newton was never going to be Tom Brady. He could be good, and they could be solid, and they can make the playoffs, but he'll never be Tom Brady.
He'll never be the GOAT.
Yeah. Turpin right now, it's tough to say that this guy replaced Turpin. He is tremendous. I can't wait until this quarterback draft because at the end of the show, because I think you're going to get thrown for a loop. And I really like the Gamblers offense. Like for the first time ever, like legit since last year. This is the first
same.
time.
Absolutely
like,
same.
Oh, okay. All right. I can see what's happening there.
No, yeah. And for everybody watching, we are going to, Webb and I are going to take turns, kind of like picking a dodgeball team back in elementary school or a basketball team back in elementary school at recess. We are going to have a draft of the 8 quarterbacks who started this week, and we're going to redraft those 8 quarterbacks. So we didn't want to do a full ranking, but a draft.
Well, I think this week, I'm trying to go through it real quick.
Ooh.
I know Carson Strong played a little bit, but the majority
no, I would say Josh Love.
No, but what I'm saying is the majority of the teams kind of settled in on a quarterback, probably for the first time in history, where you didn't see one team go, you know what, I'm going to split it. Even the Generals, right? The famous.
That one surprised me to not see any Dakota Prue Cup. Yeah. That was wild. Sorry, I pulled the power ranking down because I wanted you guys to see all of the contributors to the power rankings.
Yeah, we've got some new ones. Our fantasy writers, right?
Some new ones. Our fantasy writers. Hopefully, we'll be getting some of their stuff out once we hash out website and everything like that. Okay. So I'm going to move back here. Oh, I got something in my throat. I'm so sorry.
All right. So player of the week. We've had some good performances. I think all the voting for the USFL player of the week was pretty, it wasn't close.
It was a landslide on every single week.
On all 3 of them. Do you have a player of the week for this week?
Overall, from the games, I'd almost say DeAndre Johnson because, because to see a team where my brother was touting the Panthers defense as he was saying, you know, we'll see, but he said we might be better than the Maulers defense, right?
Psych.
Then we go into this week, DeAndre Johnson, who is not a throwing quarterback, cannot throw the ball that well, goes and tears them apart with his legs and then hits a long bomb for a touchdown. He played it as perfectly as he could play it. Do you know how many interceptions DeAndre Johnson's thrown this year?
I think 0, right?
0 interceptions. So if you're a quarterback who can't throw that well, who has to rely on his legs, what do you have to do? You have to not turn the ball over. Now, I know he fumbled once, but that's going to happen eventually. Yeah, that's going to happen eventually when you're running. Yeah. But to not throw any interceptions 3 games into the season, to have 3 passing touchdowns, I think, when I was doing the QB graphics today. I didn't finish them, but I was looking at the stats. So it was just very impressive to me what he did, because I did not expect much. And I thought by this point of the season, I honestly thought that Dakota Prukop would take over as the full-time starter. And DeAndre Johnson completely took over and played that entire game and whopped him. So,
of course, you got to bring up Prukop's name on the show that I went undefeated on my picks, so I could take 1 L today. That might be my biggest L of the year so far, because I think this is Johnson.
I was scared at the beginning of the season. I was like, oh man, I thought Dakota Prukop was going to take over. I was like, this is the guy.
Yeah.
They picked him. Nope.
Yeah. Well, my player of the week. You all right, buddy? You good?
Talked a lot during Gamblers Table Talk earlier.
my player of the week is. I was going to go with DeAndre Johnson, actually, because I didn't want to pick a mauler.
Let's go.
It's got to be I'm going to show some love to the Maulers right now because, the first win, they only had 1 last year. Troy Williams, he settled the position. He didn't put up great stats, but
at all, not even close.
He ran the ball. He was 7 carries for 70 yards, which is pretty good, right?
How many pass yards does he have on the season?
Player of the week. Player of the week.
Okay, how many pass yards did he have in that game?
Okay. So for the first 2 weeks, we talked about how the Maulers' offense is absolutely horrid. Do you realize they scored on 4 of the 5 possessions in the first half? Yes, there's field goals. It
was all field goals. Who threw as many touchdowns this weekend as Troy Williams? Alex Collins. Like, are you for real?
I'm telling you right now.
A running back.
It's the first step of many steps to raising up this offense. And I'm telling you, they settled in on Troy Williams, I'm hoping. So,
I can't hate on it too much because it's showing growth, right? Yeah. We couldn't hit a field goal. Then we could only hit a field goal. Then we got a touchdown and the most field goals. And then hopefully we're getting more touchdowns when we get into the red zone, right?
5 trips to the red zone, right? And they scored a touchdown once.
But the play calling, dude, oh my gosh, that was terrible. I cannot knock Troy Williams for.
I think it's a learning process for everyone. They finally settled in on a quarterback. They were splitting 50-50 almost for the first 2 weeks. Like, this is the first game that they go, okay, well, this is the guy. This is the guy. And every other team's kind of leaned, like even Panthers, right? Yes, I know they bring in Strong, but Love gets the majority of the snaps.
Love is the guy. And that kind of bothered me because Carson Strong comes in, he throws the only touchdown. Then he has some shaky throws and they yank him. And in this kind of league, I really think that you need to just leave a quarterback in, But I digress. That's not what we're talking about.
But my player of the week
is
no, hold on.
Okay.
Is Mark Hull. Can we give Mark Hull love? I'm going to say he's a coach. I get it. But he has coached every player of the week this week. So this is the week that I have to give them props. You know what I mean? Like,
That's crazy. That's impressive.
Reuben Foster, linebacker, and the special teams, Chris Blewett. We're calling him Chris Made It. Thank you, Captain, for that nickname. He's not Chris Blewett. He's Chris Made It. But Mark Hull, he's the most underrated assistant coach in probably the league right now. And I know there's a lot of great ones, but he has consistently over the 2 years produced good talent. He got 2 specialists in the NFL last year. So we got to show him some love. And this week is perfect week with all 3 players being a player that has been coached by Coach Hull at one time.
Yes. So. And an incredibly nice guy. What a cool
dude. Awesome. He's awesome. Yeah.
Such a cool guy. All right. So we move on to, we're doing it a little different this week where we would do, last week we had the boat sank, stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. We're doing the predictions first. So let me see. Should I bring this on? Will it look good? That's not right. Man. Here we go. Okay. So USFL Authority Pick'em. Now that I have that. Yes. Okay. So first game of the weekend, I want to know, you picked the Stars and I picked the Gamblers, which makes sense because you hate my team. No,
I don't hate your team. I hate the Stars more than you. You know that.
No, I know you're the biggest Stars hater, me and the ponies, but what makes you think that the Stars are going to overcome the Gamblers this week in a game where Cookus is coming off of spending half the game on his back? The defense didn't look good. They're the only defense to give up a touchdown to the Maulers so far. What makes you think that they have it?
To say that they're the only defense that gave up a touchdown to the Maulers, I get what you're trying to say, but the Breakers are undefeated right now, and
whoa, that was their offense and their special teams,
and their generals. Their defense was fantastic the first week. I think they've progressively gotten worse, even against the Stallions. I thought they gave up a ton of yards. I don't know what's going on in the Breakers. Could be their trouble spot. The Generals are very tough on defense. You can't knock it. Like, we both picked them this week to beat the Breakers, right?
Yeah.
You can't crush their defense. Adam Rodriguez
he's a
awesome.
beast.
He is awesome. Like, to watch him for the entire – he was all over the field. Like, the play where he's rushing Troy Williams and then he comes back and gets the fumble on C.J. Turner. Like, I'm like, what is this? Like, he's a defensive end linebacker, and he's out hustling everyone. They got away with the replay with Armani Dennis getting it overturned. I think the reason why I picked the Stars is because Bahar turns the ball over a little bit too much, and that's kind of where it fits in with the Stars, because that's all they look for is turnovers. They'll give up the yards, but if you're turning the ball over, you're not gonna score, right? So you can't. I think that the Stars beat you, and it's going to be close.
Well, here's the thing for me is that, yes, Bahar has these terrible errant interceptions, but I mentioned it on my show. He had 3 the first week, then he had 2 the second week, then he had 1 this week. So, and then this week, he had that 1 terrible interception to finish halftime. And then at the end of the game, when they needed it most, he was able to drive it down the field, throw one of the best passes I've ever seen to Josh Peterson, and then hit Justin Hall out in the flat for the touchdown to seal the game. So he's getting better. He's maturing. I think this week we might see the Gamblers offense at its best, right? Because Bahar is setting in. Mark Thompson's back, and he's going at it. TJ Pledger, I think he's out, so that sucks. But to have those pieces where we have Mark Thompson from last year, we have Kenji Bahar settling in, our receivers are really finding their groove. The big question mark to me is going to be the defense. I think if we can get pressure on Cookus, and if we aren't giving the deep ball away the way that we did against the Panthers, which was insane to me, it was killing me. But the secondary also seemed to settle down a little bit and fit in this week. If the defense can handle the Stars secondary, or not secondary, wide receiver core, I think that we can win this game. I do think it's going to be a good game, like you said. So I think either of our picks, the Stars, Gamblers, I think this game is the one where I wouldn't be surprised either way.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that was part of my thinking also. I think Cookus is going to be able to pass on your defense a little bit. And
everybody does.
You don't have Chris Odom anymore. Like,
we do
you
not
don't have Dominic Davis. I know you have another Arkansas State guy. I get that. But I have this feeling that they're going to rebound. They're going to block a little bit better for Cookus, and your secondary is not the Mauler secondary. And
I agree.
I think it's going to cost you. And then Bahar with his turnovers. Me personally, I'm rooting for you guys. I really am. I'm just trying to beat you by like 20 games.
It helps you if we win.
It does definitely help me. Personally, I'm rooting for it. These are we got records here. I'm not trying to let you catch up. So I'm not trying to give you a game. I almost can pick, actually, to tell you the truth, I can predict every game that you would have picked except one. There's only one shocker on here.
You thought that the Breakers.
I thought you would pick the Breakers, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We'll get there. Okay. Right. So let's go to game 2.
All right.
We got the Showboats at the Panthers. So they're back up in Michigan. Let's see how it goes. The Panthers are coming off of a terrible game, right? They look terrible. Their offense looked inept. Their defense was just getting out-schemed. And then they come back and they play what everybody is saying is the worst team in the league. And we both picked the Panthers. So we don't believe the Showboats can bounce back, but we do believe that the Panthers can. Why do you?
I just don't trust the Showboats, man.
Me either.
I'm not a big Panther fan. Cal Maverick knows that. I am anti-Michigan right now because I don't think their defense is as good as everyone was talking about. I think they got you guys at a perfect time in week 1. I think Bahar has advanced since then. I think if you guys line up right now, I I think I would pick the Gamblers. I really would. Their other win is against the who else do they play?
The Stars.
The Stars, which is a team that's struggling, right? Like it's not like they don't have that marquee win that the other 3 teams above them do so far. I feel that way at least. But I think they're going to win this one because I don't trust the Showboats at all. I feel like they're a mess. They had a chance to beat the Gamblers and they couldn't make one stop. And then like they come back and it just seems like they're disorganized. They almost seem like the Maulers of last year where like it just something's missing and I don't know what it is. I thought Cole Kelly was great and I can't wait to draft him. He tore up your secondary.
Oh my gosh. Well,
no, but I think Michigan's better on defense, obviously, and I think Michigan gets this done. And if Reggie Corbin's healthy, why not?
Oh my gosh, we're screaming at the screen. Why is he returning kicks? Why would you put your best player back there at the position that gets hurt the most? Whatever. Yeah. I think that their defense really tightened up in the second half, right? Like in the second half, you felt like they could come back into it because the defense wasn't giving up as much as they were in the first half. And so I think that they're going to bounce back pretty hard. I think Carson Strong starts this week. I actually think that. And I think that they could really go to town on the Showboats because, there's the old saying that once you see the players on the other sideline fighting each other, like getting mad at each other, you've won.
Yeah.
And we're seeing Todd Haley fight with everybody. It's insane. And I think the team is just I don't think the culture is where they want right now. And I think it's imploding on itself. And I don't see good things for this team.
That's fair. I think we kind of agree on this one. I think this was the one that had the least disagreement at all. So
I agree. All right. So game 3, we have the Breakers at the Generals. We're up in Canton. So why did you pick the Generals? Here, I'll go first.
Okay.
I'll go first because I don't think the Breakers defense is good at all. I think it's terrible. The one game it looked decent was against the Maulers offense, which we can all agree has not been the best. And it was week 1 where some teams looked better or worse than they are in week 1, right? Where people were still settling down. So the Breakers, I think, are a little bit of a fraudulent number 1. And not just because I don't think that they're good enough to win the championship. It's that I think a lot of teams are good enough to win the championship this season. I think everybody is pretty good. And the Generals are just picking up steam. And I think Mike Riley is going to out-scheme that defense to the point where the Breakers can't keep up.
Mike Riley's the best coach in this league.
I agree.
He runs the best program as an organization. Him and Devaney are on the same page. His assistants, they all get it. They all get it. And the Generals just look like, yes, I know they beat the Maulers 20-3 and they were struggling all the way until the fourth quarter. I get that.
Yeah, but anybody against the Maulers defense, that defense is legit.
Exactly.
I mean, to the point where I think they could I don't think they could win a championship right now with the offense they have, but I think that any week they could go in and upset the other team because their defense is that good.
Exactly. And I just think the Generals are kind of like that. I think the Generals defenses are very underrated. I really do. I think their corners are tough. Chris Orr is all over the place.
Chris Orr is so good.
Yeah, he's all over the place. Obviously, Toby in the middle. Like I just feel like Luani, who hasn't really had a dangerous season yet.
No, which is odd, but he's been solid.
Yeah, very quiet season. Their corner, like I said, their corners are tough. I think they match up well with the Breakers. Mm-hmm. And I put the Generals as number 2. So this is my number 1 versus my number 2 anyway. So it can go either way. But
I think they're good, man. And I would just love to give a huge shout out to their defensive line, Toby Johnson. I think they were last in the league last year in sacks.
Yep.
And this year it just looks completely different, which not that much different personnel. It just looks like they're hungrier, right? They took the last year personnel and they're coming at it.
Yeah, the personnel is Ted Cottrell is now the defense coordinator.
Well, I'm talking about players.
Yeah, but the scheme is a little different.
The scheme is different.
The same, and they're more aggressive. And yes, the players have elevated their game. So
yeah,
I think they are the toughest team in the North. I think they really are.
I could agree with that.
Yeah.
All right. So the last game. This is the game that I know you're going to be watching. I know you're going to be sitting there I know you feel it personally because I feel it personally when I'm watching the Gamblers. I didn't even get to watch our game last week until later, but people were texting me, right? And I was watching the score and I felt it in my chest. And the amount of relief when I found out we won was insane. So I know this week going in against the reigning champions, the team that you talked so much smack about last year, hashtag horse meat. Why do you have you guys beating them this week?
Because I think this is the perfect time to see the Stallions. Because they've never had it. This adversity they've never had this. I know they lost to the Gamblers last week, but they are hurt.
To the Breakers.
Like
I wish they lost to the Gamblers.
No, they lost to the Gamblers last year when they went 9-1. Yes, they've never had to. Skip Holtz has never had to come back from a loss, really, outside of the one meaningless game. Like it didn't mean that much. Like they were in the playoffs. It didn't kill them. This is a big game, and losing to the Breakers for the first time, all the injuries that they have. Like, did you see the list of the inactive? I think Luke Miller from the newsroom put it out.
It's like insanely long.
That's a roster, like with the inactives and
it is.
Like, it's crazy, and the talent that's there. I just think this is the perfect time to catch these Stallions, the ponies, and I think the Maulers are ascending right now, and that touchdown, like you talked about feeling it in your chest and everything. First of all, I lost cable. I lost my
I
internet.
remember that.
I lost power. I lost everything. I was like, what? They were driving. Luckily I got on my phone from YouTube TV, like right when Bailey Gaither caught the touchdown. But that touchdown, like, just changed the whole mood of the team.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could just tell, like, what Jaron did this, right? Like he was going crazy in the
you had to bring it up.
I had to. That's a gift now. But I feel like this team is gelling at the perfect time, and the Stallions just haven't. And of course, I'm going to root for them, so that probably leaned into my pick a little bit. But the Stallions have never faced this adversity before, and I don't know if they have the guys that have the experience of the championship, enough of them active and ready to go, that where they can recover. Like they're thinking about Kyle Sloter. Like think about that. A guy that's only been there 3 weeks. Like there's rumors that he might be on the active list. Like, are they that unsure of Magoo maybe? Or they're unsure of Morton if Magoo gets a hit from this defense?
So I think the latter, because I definitely don't think that they are worried about Magoo. Magoo has looked incredibly solid. It'll show in the draft that we do, but I think he's doing well.
Okay. All right. Why'd you pick the Stallions?
So I picked the Stallions because I just think that
you're down by 4 games and you have to make one up, and you knew where I was going on that one?
No, trust me. I am rooting for the Maulers. We are 1 game behind the Stallions. If we win this week and the Stallions lose, we might move above them in the power ranking, depending on how bad they lose. So I'm hyped, right? I want the Maulers to win. I'm going to be rooting so hard for the Maulers. But I don't think that they can do it because I think their offense is getting better, but I'm not going to trust it until I see Coach Tomlinson, who's a great guy, until I see him get more aggressive. Because to see him kind of bow out and settle for the field goal 5 times this week was upsetting, because these players are driving, they're doing it all, and to just say we're going to run it on 3rd and 8 and go for the field goal upsets me. So until he steps it up, because I think he can, if he steps it up this week and is more aggressive, then I will absolutely put the Maulers winning, but not this week.
Okay, so week 1 was like a preseason. I'm going to defend these Maulers here. Week 1 was like a preseason game because they did not have like a full-fledged game with these new quarterbacks. Week 2 was kind of just they were in the game until the 4th quarter, and then the offense just fell apart. They really were in the game. It was 6-3 going into the 4th quarter.
But you have to agree that it's only because of the defense that their offense has done zero help.
So now the offense is starting to produce and get into the red zones. They don't want the ball to be turned over like a Kenji Bahar kind of situation where you cost the team. So he was just trying to get points, and against the Stars, who are famous for putting up 30 points, he was just trying to get points. He got more aggressive as the game went on, and Troy was settling down. He did get more aggressive.
But also against the Stars defense, which I believe to be the worst defense in the league. Maybe the Breakers are worse if they look bad again this week, but I think the Stars just have the worst defense. I love Adam Rodriguez. I think Amani Dennis is good. I think the rest of it is shambles. Absolute shambles.
Fair enough.
And so if you guys can show me offense this week, I'm in. You know, I already love the Maulers. I love this team.
I know.
But I got to see it. All right. So we move on. Well, I want to know, KB, who wins? Maulers or Stallions? I want to know.
Stallions.
Oh, told you.
That's all right.
All right. So we got the QB.
Hey,
draft.
KB, real quick. KB, what'd you go on your picks last week?
Oh God, I don't.
I actually don't know either.
I don't remember.
The whole network went 1 on 3 except me and Hype, because Hype took the Maulers too.
Oh my gosh.
4 or 4. Am I doing it backwards? I don't even know. Undefeated.
That was right.
Undefeated.
That week.
I am the first to admit.
Season record.
I am the first to admit that I am not a part of this network based on my football prowess.
Oh yes, you are. Keep us the glue that keeps us together.
Like
exactly. You're good.
Oh, it's all good. All right, but Webb and I are going to do a mid-season QB draft where we are going to start blank slates and we are going to middle school dodgeball style draft back and forth the quarterbacks, because Webb did not want to do a straight ranking, because I feel like we would sit here all night fighting about it. So we are going to do this, and we have a little intro video for it.
Oh, do you have it?
That's jazzy. That's a fun one. That's different. It sounds different. So, Webb and Ace midseason QB draft. So we're just gonna pick one for one. You know, where it's like the school grounds where he said, "I pick Tiffany," and the other person says, "I got Courtney." So we're gonna do that. So,
are we doing a snake draft? We haven't decided. Are we doing a snake draft?
Well, it's just, I mean, what do you mean snake draft? It's literally 2 people. It just goes one. But I need a coin to flip. Draft, I didn't think about this.
No, since it's the first draft and you're the youngest, you're younger than me. I'll let you go first. First.
Wow.
I'm about to school you.
All right. My QB that I'm going to pick.
Hold on. What's your team name? You got a team name?
Oh, my team name?
I got one for you. Dead Cats. The Dead Cats.
What is that?
It's a skeleton. It's a Halloween decoration. It's the Dead Cats.
Is that not a pug? You know why? Is that not a pug dog?
No,
it looks like Daisy.
I think it's a dog.
whatever. Cat, dog, whatever. I want to name the Dead Cats in honor of your brother, because those Panthers are dead.
Wow, that's messed up. No, we're gonna do what I do my fantasy football team in the USFL Expert League over on altfantasysports.com. The Smoking Pocket Aces, like smoking aces. It's super stupid, but I'm doing it. All right, what's your team name?
In honor of one of my favorite quotes of the USFL history, and it's not Maulers related. Stamp. That's just going to be my team name. Stamp of approval. Stamp of success. Stamp of everything. Stamp. Let's go.
I was in that press conference. That was one of my favorite press conferences I've ever been in. That was great. I was shocked. It was great. But my first quarterback, obviously, I got to take MBT, because he has shown this year that he has the prowess, he has the understanding, and he is just settled. I mean, I watched that dude get absolutely murdered by the gamblers. Who was it? Isaiah Pryor. He came up and he rocked his world. And he came back in and immediately threw a dart. The dude just doesn't care. He's not fazed by the play before. And there's a reason he has 800 yards already this season in 3 games.
Exactly. The number 1 pick for the Stamp, DeAndre Johnson, because I believe in this league you need a running quarterback, and
I do too.
He's the best, and MBT probably would have been my number 1 if I went first, but for the second, it's DeAndre Johnson. It definitely is, because I think it was just crazy, because I was totally team Pro Cup, right? Like I thought.
I mean, I kind of was too, because I thought, if you can't just consistently throw the football, that you can't do it. And he proved me wrong this week. That was crazy.
Well, the Generals are always a big play threat with Vito and him. And Johnson's part of the reason, connecting it. What was that? Eccles Looper for that long toss. Was it?
No, it was Alonzo Moore.
Alonzo Moore, another one. And then they've got so many wide receivers that could take it to the house. If Johnson can just complete those passes, I'm just a big fan.
All right.
So you're up.
Well, with pick number 3, the Smoking Pocket Aces are going to take Alex Magoo, quarterback, Birmingham Stallions. The dude.
Wait a minute. What?
Quarterback.
Say that again.
Alex Magoo, quarterback.
No,
Birmingham Stallions.
It wasn't the voice. It was the name. Like, I'm shocked by this pick. I'm Mel Kiper.
Are you really?
I'm shocked by this pick with you. Yes.
Why? Dude,
because now you changed my draft board. Like, I wrote the quarterbacks in a row, and I wrote yours, and Alex Magoo was my 4th quarterback for you because the 3rd one's still out there. And I think you know where it's going. So
probably. Well, dude, Alex Magoo he's proven it to me this season. Coming in that Showboats game, I know that the Showboats are the worst, but the throws and the way he was able to move around the pocket, I don't care who you're playing, it just looked good. He came in week 1, he did it with his legs. He came in week 2, he did it with his arm. He showed that he really can do it either way. I think it was a tough week against the Breakers just because they were basically down a ton the whole time. And it seemed like they weren't ready for that. They weren't ready to be down,
They scored how many points? How
31.
many points? 31 is going to win most of your games, so don't worry.
Most of the games. That's what I'm saying. So he really does. He just looks complete at this point to me. Like, he looks really good.
I cannot believe that was where you went, and I can't believe you're forcing me to do this. Like you played into this. Like, this, you outmaneuvered me here. Case Cookus. Stamp takes Case Cookus.
For everybody that doesn't know, Webb and I had a huge fight this weekend about Case Cookus because he was saying he's not the number 2 quarterback in the league and that he's barely top 4. And I was fighting him on it. And the fact that I just made him take him is amazing. So your number 2 quarterback is Case Cookus.
I just want to be on the record. My top 4 was MBT, Johnson, Magoo, and Cookus. So my draft board is being followed right now, but it's value here. And I can't believe you forced me to do that. I should have gone first. I should have. You've been in my head all week after telling me about it, so I should have outmaneuvered you here. But
feels good.
You're pick 5. Right. Pick 5. I already know where you're going here. So
I'm going Kenji Bahar, quarterback, Houston Gamblers.
Yep.
It's fun. The draft was last week. I had a great time. The Vikings didn't completely disappoint me. So I'm enjoying the draft. And I'm going to take Kenji Bahar because, like I said earlier, 3 interceptions, 2 interceptions, 1 interception. So if he follows that trend, he's throwing no interceptions this week. Hopefully, because it's the worst defense. But Amani Dennis is out there. And he showed the pass that he threw to Josh Peterson in that final drive to win the game was literally one of the most beautiful passes. The amount of touch, the placement, the accuracy, the spin on the ball. He can make the best throws. It's all whether or not he will settle down and just do it, right? Not overthink it, not second guess and then overthrow the receiver. Just do what he can do. And I think he could be great. I think he could be a really good quarterback. I think he could be top 4, maybe number 4 by the end of the season if he cleans it up. I don't think he'll catch MBT, but Kenji Bahar, man.
All right. Love, Williams, and Kelly are left on the board.
Yeah.
I know who I'd want on my team, but if we're going by performance of this year,
I think I know where you're going.
Cole Kelly.
Yeah, you were going Cole Kelly.
Yeah, I am a big fan. I think he did well against you guys. I would like to see – he's got a ton of weapons. I know they lost a receiver, but McDaniel is awesome. Yeah. I said that a couple weeks ago.
Did Rashard Davis tear his Achilles?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, that's awful.
But they've got weapons, and now you're getting Juwan Washington out of the backfield too. Like, I just feel like
why they didn't have Juwan, why they released him. I will not know.
That's part of the reason why I don't trust the Memphis Showboats. But
Dave,
Captain can tell you that. Yeah. But I'll take Kelly with this pick because I think I know where you're going to go. So,
yeah, I'm going to go Troy Williams, Pittsburgh quarterback, Pittsburgh Maulers. And I'll tell you why. Oh, dude, because I really do believe that if they let Troy be Troy, when he ran the ball, when he went through read 1, 2, run, he looked good. In this league, if you can run the ball, DeAndre Johnson proved it. Now, Troy Williams is not DeAndre Johnson. He's not running a 4.35 40.
But he could be Kenji Bahar.
But he could be a Kenji Bahar. He could do these things. He has the weapons and the play calling. I believe it will improve. I believe it will get more aggressive. They're going to start trusting Troy because he proved this week that he can do it. He can make the throws. I do think that he has a high ceiling. And so when you're looking at the high ceiling he has, when you're looking at Josh Love getting flustered and starting to throw bad passes, I still love you, Josh. But when you're looking at these things, I just think that the higher ceiling right now is the quarterback who can run, who's going to beat you with their legs. And also, he's not sliding at the end of those runs, and you just get an extra bump from me because that's a man move. So Troy Williams.
Well, Troy Williams is a Utah guy. And if you know anything about Utah football, they're tough, and the quarterbacks are always pretty tough. And they're always 8-4, 10-2. You know what I mean? They're always a tough team, and Troy Williams is tough, and it fits the Maulers mold. So you left me with Mr. Love. It's not that I love this pick. Yeah, I feel like he is on the shake his ground to keep his starting spot out of all of these picks.
I don't even think he starts next week.
So if I get strong with it, it's not a bad pick, nice value pick. But I think Love can do it. I think there's some guys that are just better as backups. And in the sense of when your starter goes down, he's going to manage like a Jacoby Brissett, right? Like he's gonna manage. He can carry you for 4 weeks if your team's solid around you, and he'll perform well enough. You know, he had a record day against you guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then you can start. You can start pick up little traits that he does, and you can start picking them apart. And I think it's proved over the last couple of weeks, and they've struggled on offense outside of when Reggie Corbin's going. And I know they got a couple big plays. Carson Strong got the touchdown this week, but
1 touchdown.
Yeah. I think he could move up this list. There's no reason why. I think after week 1, what do we rank him for? You know what I mean? He's top 4. Yeah. It's so fluid, just like the power rankings. And as of right now, Love, it's got to be number 8. So I'm glad Troy Williams you picked him, even though I want him.
Dude, I like Troy. Also,
I want him.
He came up to me. He came up to us when we were up there, and he introduced himself. And he knew you, but he said,
Willie.
He said, "What's up? What's up, Ace? I'm Troy." And I was like, "I know who you are."
Yeah, he's always been my guy. To go back to Troy, he's always been my guy. He was my pick because of mobility. And
I was like, "Hello, Troy."
Yeah,
so nice. He was so nice. I honestly thought he looked good when we were up there too during the scrimmages, during practice. He throws a nice ball, and then to be able to run, it's just why he didn't start over James Morgan. You guys might be 2-1 right now if he had started. The legs can make the difference. So people get, the quarterback who has more NFL experience, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. James Morgan looked awful. I think that Torrey Williams.
It's the right arm. It's the right arm. James Morgan has the best arm probably in the league. I'm not kidding. Like big NFL arm.
I can believe that.
He's got arm strength. But it's always his knack has always been his completion percentage. In college, he was like 52%, 53%. And it's like, we dealt with that with Vadley last year. Sorry.
Yeah. And then he comes in and he's averaging 43% completion over 2 weeks. That's terrible.
Exactly. And I know Troy's numbers didn't stand out this week, but he was efficient enough and he
got the win.
Yeah. And that's all you need. With that defense, that's all you need out of offense. You can develop your offense slowly as long as they're efficient enough and getting points. Your defense can carry, and the special teams. Come on, man. Henny and Simmons returning the kicks.
Henny's
hours. It's been a glorious week in the Hammer Den. I don't know what I'm calling it, but it's been a glorious week in Hammerland. That's what I'll call it. So we're gonna ring the bell.
Oh God, so loud.
I got props for days this week. I've been, it's 2 weeks without arguing football with you. So and I appreciate Mav for filling in. I was sick, and I'm ready to go. Let's go.
There was too much agreement. We're brothers. We think the same. We talk all the time about this stuff. And so it was like the answers were the same. So getting you to come back, test my limits, test me out. And then I had to come and curveball you with Troy Williams. But our wonderful producer, KB, has come up with a blindside. The Magoo. I'm okay. I'm surprised you didn't know that I was going Alex Magoo.
I thought you were going Case Cookus. You love him. You absolutely love him. Like that was my whole game plan. My whole game plan was get Johnson so he can't steal Johnson because he likes mobile quarterbacks, and then you'll get Magoo and you'll be set. I don't care what happens at the back half. But by you threw me a curveball. I'll give you props. A tip of the hat.
I love me some Cookus. I love him as a player and a person. But so far, Magoo has been playing better. He's been showing me the complete package. And what is it? You look like a Dr. Evil on a Hawaiian vacation.
Well, after this 4-0 week, I bet the house on it. Another 4-0 week. I'm going to own Hawaii property.
Oh, whatever. All right. So our wonderful producer, KB, has put together a blindside question for Web and I. The last one that she did for Web and I was awesome. Last week was a tougher one. Yeah. And now I want to see what she's got this week. So roll the tape. All right, KB, hit me.
Hello, gentlemen. It is interesting to me that we just talked about a draft because my blind side is about the collegiate draft.
Oh.
Okay. So we just had the NFL draft.
Yes.
And I noticed that specifically the Maulers, 8 out of the 10 out of their draft class were offered NFL opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
The Gamblers, 6 out of the 10 were offered NFL opportunities. The captain posted his for the Showboats, and 7 of their 10 were offered NFL opportunities, which made me wonder if that makes you change the way you view the success of the USFL's collegiate draft.
No, you kind of expect it. And especially because it's not necessarily like they all got drafted, right? It's not like 8 out of the 10 for the Maulers were drafted to the NFL.
They only had one.
One was drafted. I believe the Gamblers had 2 drafted. And then I went and found, I was corrected by our wonderful, wonderful GM. He reached out to all 10 players and found out, because some of them just hadn't spoken to anybody or talked to anybody about their opportunities. And only one Gambler had not been reached out to by an NFL team. And so he signed with the Gamblers today. But so I love that fact that happened, that there's one guy that didn't get an NFL call. He immediately joins the Gamblers at a position of need, which is awesome. The Showboats, one of their 3 that didn't get a call, he now is set to join the Showboats. I don't know about the Maulers, but also
she said 8.
Yeah.
The other 2 were already on the Maulers.
True. And the other 2 are already on the Maulers. So I think it worked. And also it's more of a long play where a lot of the guys you're talking about, let's look at the Gamblers specifically. You have Colby Reeder, who was invited to the rookie minicamp for the Saints. You have Justin Ford, who was invited to the rookie minicamp for the Ravens. These are guys that aren't being given any money. They're just saying, you can come to our camp, and if you show us something, then we'll invite you to our actual training camp.
Yeah.
So they could go there. Maybe they have a bad day. Maybe they pull a hamstring, something like that, and then they end up in the USFL. So I think it's a long play, and that we haven't seen the whole thing play out yet. What do you think, Webb?
I completely agree. Lindsey Scott, the first-round draft pick for the Maulers.
Quarterback. I was surprised. I thought he might join the team at this point.
He got 2 invites to the Jets and the Bucks. He doesn't even have one team. He just has 2 invites. So the undrafted free agents, those guys have a chance. I think the ones that are invited to rookie camp, it's really like a fancy tryout. Sometimes just I hate to say this, like a warm body, right?
Yeah.
They need 11 on 11. So those ones that get the rookie invites, you might see them available at the end of May or June, whenever the rookie camps are. and they might be in this league. So we'll see it play out. I think it's too early to tell. I think the best way to judge it is how many were actually drafted, because those guys are seen as NFL players right now. And the Maulers have one, and you said the Gamblers have two. The Maulers one is the punter, the kid from Wingate. So like he was a 7th round draft pick, and he was the 10th round draft pick with the Maulers. Hopefully he gets a shot. I believe the Patriots actually drafted him. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes down. I think it's too early, but I think it's awesome because, first of all, it gives us extra content, right, on the NFL draft weekend,
which is nice.
You use that hashtag NFL draft, and it comes up with a little emoji and everything.
Great.
Yeah. But you get to see how these kids really are judged, not just by your team, because like we didn't even know most. I know Chase Bryce, right? Lindsey Scott was Walter Pitt. Like you knew some of the big names, but like the Ethan Evans, the punter, right, from Wingate. I didn't even know where Wingate was. You know what I mean? Like I had no idea where that team was, or like what level of football. I've never heard of it. The HBCU, every team drafted at least one, right? Mm-hmm. Like you got guys that got at least a home if the NFL doesn't come calling. And I think and like Ace said, it's a long play. And we'll see in like September and October, if they're not on an NFL team, are these teams signing them to fill in instead of a free agent signing? They're getting their draft pick because they've done a little bit of homework on them. So
that would be so cool. And then you have these young guys coming in and replacing maybe some old guys that are going to leave, some guys that get NFL opportunities. Like you're just kind of creating a way to have what am I trying to say? When you have more people coming in,
you just the circle. You're just creating, you know,
a cycle, I guess,
an endless cycle.
Yeah. Where then you have players who already have rights. So then, well, it's also then cooler because if someone that we drafted, say Chase Bryce, gets signed as a free agent, more people will know about Chase Bryce who follows the Gamblers just because he was drafted by the Gamblers. So you're getting the Appalachian State people, you're getting the people who followed him for the draft, you're getting the people who followed the USFL draft. All these people are then excited about a signing for the USFL. Whereas if they sign a quarterback that's from another smaller school but wasn't drafted in the USFL, it's not as big because we have to be like, oh, who's this guy? You know? So I think it's just it's a cool thing.
My only concern with the draft is I wish it was like in September and October when free agency was happening, because then you don't have to worry about all the free agent signings. You got guys that have already passed their rookie invite camp, right? Like Lindsey Scott would be on the team next year if he doesn't stick with the Jets and the Bucks. You don't have to play the waiting game. So you can almost kind of, and it makes the draft a little bit more important instead of the long play. That's my only criticism of the draft. It could be part of the offseason because you're a Vikings fan. Mm-hmm. You watched the draft last weekend.
Yes, I did. I watched the first round and the end of the third round.
It's for the hope of next year. The weird thing about the USFL draft, it's the hope
for the hope of 2 years from now.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a long wait, and that's my only criticism. But it's year 2, so we can go from there.
True.
But that was a good one.
I like it. Right. Thank you, gentlemen.
That's all we got.
I think we're done.
Sure, if you're not a subscriber, make sure you subscribe. When we hit 1,000, we're going to be sending out Cavante Turpin signed Dallas Cowboys jersey, the reigning USFL MVP, to one lucky subscriber, just someone at random. So to make sure that you're entered, hit that subscribe button. We're coming up on it really quick. It's just gaining, which is great because I'm glad that people like our content and our shows. So thank you guys for watching. Hit that subscribe button. And Webb, you got anything else?
Stamp.
We're out.
Oh gosh. Yeah.